What's going on, everybody? Mr. Octagonal here, and we are back with the 3 Minutes on the Clock podcast, Season 2, Episode number 17. Today we have my 11th and final NFL mock draft. Today is the day, draft day. First round is tonight. I'm very excited. I'm also terrified. I don't want my team to mess it up because this is a very important night for us. I am a Lions fan. Hoping we trade down, hoping it's Simmons or Okudah at 5. That's the hope for me personally. But today's mock is going to be predicting the pick. My last mock, which I uploaded on Tuesday, is what I would do if I was the GMs. That's not the case today. I am predicting what's going to happen with trades. There were plenty of trades in this video, as you can see. So since it's a predict the pick, I'm not going to agree with all of these moves, but this is just what I am predicting will happen for tonight's draft. So without further ado, let's get into it. With the first pick, this is not really much of a discussion. The Bengals are going to pick Joe Burrow, quarterback out of LSU. This has been the same pick since January. It has not changed, and Joe Burrow will be the pick, and he should be the pick. And I'd be shocked, astronomically shocked, if this is not Joe Burrow. So I'm not going to go into too much detail just because I do find this one fairly obvious. Here at 2 is where things get interesting. A lot of people are saying the draft starts at 3. Because the first 2 picks are obvious. I think that the draft starts at 2. I don't think Chase Young to Washington here is set in stone. I think it's very likely. I'd be very surprised if Washington does anything but Chase Young. But if a team like the Dolphins just gives them a ridiculous offer that they can't say no to, I could see Washington trying to get out of this pick. Or not trying to, but potentially taking a deal. So I doubt that happens, but I suppose it's possible. And if Washington does stay here, the pick will be Chase Young, best player in the class. I think it's very likely this happens, but it's obviously, there's a chance we see a trade. A very slim chance, but I suppose there's a chance. So now at 3, here's the trade. The Lions will be moving down to 5. It's the Miami Dolphins who are going to get the 3rd pick. The Lions will be receiving picks 39 and 70, obviously along with the 5th pick. All reports show that the 2 sides have agreed on a deal that would give the Dolphins this pick. There were a bunch of different rumors yesterday. There was one rumor that the Dolphins wanted to trade up in front to leapfrog the Giants for the best tackle in the draft. There was another rumor that the Dolphins were going to get pick 3 without trading pick 5. So the Lions would receive like 18, 26, 39, and 70 probably. But I think this is the most likely outcome. I think the Dolphins move up and get this pick. But I think the Lions will get pick 5 along with a 2nd and a 3rd round selection. And I don't think the Dolphins are leapfrogging the Giants for a tackle. I just think they want to get their quarterback, and that's Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama. If I'm the Dolphins, I don't make this move. I don't even think I'd pick Tua at 5, and for that matter, I would not pick Herbert at 5 either. I think there's no quarterback other than Burrow worthy of going in this range. Tua has the injury concerns, which is the main thing that's turning me off a little bit. I don't think Tua is as good of a prospect without the injuries as people think. Without the injuries, then yes, I don't think this is an awful move for the Dolphins. But I think the injury part does concern me, the durability and the hip. So I wouldn't make this move on the Dolphins, but if he's their guy, just go for it, I suppose. Giants at 4. There are a couple options. Apparently the Giants want to trade down, but since the Thins have already moved up to 3, I kind of doubt that. And the Giants here at 4, they could go Isaiah Simmons, which is what I think they probably should do in this scenario. They could also go O-line, Jedrick Wills, Mekhi Becton, Tristan Wirfs, Andrew Thomas, all options. But all rumors suggest that Jedrick Wills is the number 1 tackle on most boards, and because of that, he will be the pick here at 4 to the Giants. I think Jedrick Wills is probably the safest tackle in this class. He has a good floor along with a good ceiling, easily the best pass protector in this class. If he can move over to left tackle eventually, I think that'd be ideal. But for right now, he'll play at right tackle. Now, Detroit at 5. The guys who they would consider at 3 are all still on the board. Jeff Okudah, Isaiah Simmons, and Derek Brown. I think this pick is either going to be Okudah or Brown. I think it should be Isaiah Simmons. But if it's not, I think it will be either Okudah or Brown. And I'd be very surprised. I'd be thrilled, but I'd be very surprised if we end up getting Isaiah Simmons. So out of Okudah or Brown, I think the pick will be Okudah. And of those 2 players, I would choose Jeff Okudah easily over Derek Brown. Not that Brown is a bad player, but I think for what he brings to the table, I think 5 is a bit high. And because of that, I think Jeff Okudah is the better pick here. I don't think we need corner as bad as people think. Desmond Trufant's pretty good. Amani Oruwariye is a player who I really like. Justin Coleman in the nickel. So I'm comfortable with having those three as the starters next year. Obviously, if we draft Okudah, I think he's going to be better than all three of those players next season alone, let alone for the future. So I think this would be a good pick. I don't think this is the right pick, but I would be happy with it. I wouldn't be upset if we picked Okudah over Simmons. I just wouldn't necessarily agree. Pick 6 for Chargers, going to go Justin Herbert, quarterback, Oregon. I'd be pretty surprised if they don't pick a QB round 1. Some rumors say that they like Herbert more than Tua. Some rumors say that the Dolphins like Herbert more than Tua as well. So I think the Chargers are comfortable at sitting at 6, letting the draft fall to them, not giving up a king's ransom to move up. I think there's a chance they move up to 3 if they really like one of Tua or Justin Herbert more than the other. And knowing that the Dolphins probably have a deal with the Lions in principle, maybe the Chargers want to get desperate. Maybe they offer a little bit more, which as a Lions fan, that'd be best case scenario. But assuming that doesn't happen, I think the Chargers stay at 6, get their quarterback in Justin Herbert. Pick 7, Carolina, letting the draft fall to you. That's exactly what they did. Isaiah Simmons is still on the board. He's the easy choice here for Carolina, and I think if they don't pick him, they'd be crazy. Simmons is my number 2 player in this entire draft, just behind Chase Young. He provides you so many different things for defense. You can have him as an in-the-box safety. You can have him in coverage as a safety. You can have him on tight ends, trying to stop the run. Heck, every once in a while, you can have him go after the quarterback, have him play slot corner. What can't Isaiah Simmons do is the real question. So he provides so many different things to a defense, and I think Carolina will make the most of him. Pick 8, we've got another trade. All rumors the past week, or a lot of rumors, have been the Atlanta Falcons moving up. Apparently they're high on C.J. Henderson, high on Javon Kinlaw. Derek Brown is still on the board as well. So I see the Falcons moving up here. I think the Cardinals are in a position to trade down. They don't have a second-round pick thanks to the DeAndre Hopkins deal. So I had Atlanta trading picks 16 and 47 to move up to pick 8. We know Atlanta has been aggressive in the past when it comes to moving up. Last year, they were rumored to move up and get Ed Oliver. Didn't happen, but they know if there's a guy they like, they're not scared to move up. We saw them do it with Julio Jones. That obviously worked out quite well for them. And now their guy is going to be C.J. Henderson, a cornerback out of Florida. They need a cornerback quite badly. And C.J. Henderson is the best, has the highest ceiling for any corner in this draft. Some could say he's the best pure cover corner in the entire class. I mean, he gives you man, he gives you zone, he gives you great ball skills. He's an elite athlete. Jeff Okudah is not an elite athlete, and I think because of that, C.J. Henderson has a higher ceiling, but C.J. Henderson doesn't provide other things that Okudah does, mainly tackling, effort, stuff like that. C.J. Henderson has made business decisions on tackles. Maybe that's him just trying to keep his body right for the NFL, and I think part of it's also not him just being a great tackler in general. We saw Greedy Williams, a very similar player, slip to the second round last year. I don't think we see the same with C.J. Henderson. I think he does go in the late part of the top 10, early part of the teen range. So I think anywhere from like 8 to 14, 15, I think that's about where C.J. Henderson's range will end up being. We've got a bunch of trades here on this graphic to talk about. So starting with the 9th pick, the Jaguars will be moving down. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who will be receiving this pick. The Jaguars will go down to 14. They will also receive pick 117 along with tight end O.J. Howard. So this is a no-brainer for the Jaguars. Getting a guy in Howard who's a very good player, but it doesn't seem like the Bucs really want him. They don't really know how to use him. And with the Rob Gronkowski pickup, I think they will move O.J. Howard. I don't think they should trade O.J. Howard, but I think they will. But I do think it's not an awful idea for the Bucs to move up. Just get your tackle of choice, that being Andrew Thomas out of University of Georgia. Thomas is the most polished tackle in this class. Plug and play at left tackle. Boom. Protection for Brady is what you're going to get here in Thomas. We got another trade here with pick 10. The Denver Broncos will be moving up. The Cleveland Browns want to trade down. It's no secret. I know they like Ezra Cleveland for whatever reason. I had I think an early 5th round grade on him. Yeah, I'm not an Ezra Cleveland guy myself, but I do have the Browns moving down 5 spots. They will be receiving pick 15, obviously, along with pick 77, the first of Denver's 3 third-rounders, and then 181. So whoever Broncos trading up for, it's going to be a wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy from Alabama. The Broncos have plenty of mid-round draft capital, so they're going to give a little bit of it up just to get their receiver of choice. This is right around the range where the big receivers are going to start to go, Jeudy, Lamb, and Henry Ruggs. So I think the Broncos are going to want Jerry Jeudy out of that group. He has the highest floor. He's going to make an immediate impact. I've been saying this for a while. He's going to get anywhere between 1,000 and 1,200 yards as a rookie. Him and Courtland Sutton will be a dynamic duo, one of the better receiving cores in the NFL. So I think this is a smart move by Denver. You're giving up a little bit, but to move up and get your guy, I think it's a smart idea. Pick 11, the Jets are going to hold on to this one. They're going to take offensive tackle Mekhi Becton out of Louisville. This draft has really worked out for the New York Jets. You got 2 receivers left and 2 offensive tackles left. Mekhi Becton, Henry Ruggs, CeeDee Lamb, and Tristan Wirfs are all on the board and all options for the Jets. I think that they would prefer offensive tackle over wide receiver, and I think they're going to go for the higher ceiling player in Mekhi Becton. I think a lot of people probably have Becton higher on their boards. I personally have Tristan Wirfs a little bit higher, but I still think this is a good pick for the Jets. Easily the highest ceiling for any offensive lineman in this class, and I don't think it's all that close. He's a big dude, 6'7", 365. He moves so well, and I think this is a great pick for the Jets. Pick 12, the Raiders. No secret they need a receiver. CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs still on the board. And I have the pick being Henry Ruggs, the speedster out of Alabama. The Raiders want speed, and Al Davis is jumping for joy, dancing in his grave right now, because I know this is exactly what he would want his team to do. Go into Vegas. Why not get a flashy player who's going to sell tickets? And I think even if they were staying in Oakland, even if they weren't looking for a flashy player, I still think Henry Ruggs would be the pick. He gives the Raiders a new dynamic vertical threat to this offense. They need speed at the wide receiver position. Henry Ruggs brings you that. He's also an underrated route runner. He has good hands. I think this is a great pick for Las Vegas. Pick 13, we've got a trade. The Niners have no picks in rounds 2, 3, or 4. CeeDee Lamb is on the board, but I have them moving down, and the Philadelphia Eagles will be moving up to take CeeDee Lamb. The Eagles want to trade up. They want to get, probably in their opinion, the best receiver in the class. A lot of people have CeeDee Lamb as wide receiver 1. For me, he's wide receiver 2. I have Jeudy as my top receiver in the class. But the Eagles are going to give up pick 21 along with their second rounder, which is 53, in order to get this pick. So for San Francisco, you're only moving down 8 spots. If you want to go receiver there, you can still get a guy like Justin Jefferson or maybe Denzel Mims, Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Reagor. All of those guys projected to go in that range. So I think the Niners can still get a receiver who's not quite as good as CeeDee Lamb, but they also had a second-round pick out of it. So I think this is a nice trade for the 49ers. And the Eagles get their guy. They need a receiver really badly. I think CeeDee Lamb would probably be their pick, even if Ruggs or Jeudy would still be on the board. And CeeDee Lamb, obviously, he's very crafty after the catch. He's not quite as polished as a route runner, not quite as polished hands as a guy like Jerry Jeudy. But CeeDee Lamb has the highest ceiling for any wide receiver in this class, and he'll be the best one on this Eagles roster right away. Pick 14, the Jaguars got this from the trade down in order for Tampa Bay to go ahead and get Andrew Thomas. The pick for Jacksonville will be Derek Brown, the interior defensive lineman out of Auburn. I could see him going a lot higher. Brown would have been the pick at 9 had Jacksonville not moved back. So they essentially got a 4th-round pick and a quality young tight end for 3 almost. Now they had Derek Brown, who can help give them an identity on the run defense, have a guy in the middle who you can shed blocks, create double teams, create more opportunities for some of these pass rushers like Josh Allen and Taven Bryan. So I think this would be a perfect fit here for Jacksonville. I could see him going as early as 3 to the Lions, which I have a bad feeling of. Not that Derek Brown's a bad player, but I just don't want him if Okudah or Simmons is on the board. Pick 15, this pick obviously was originally from the Denver Broncos, now going to the Cleveland Browns. I could see them moving down again. Maybe a team like the Saints wants to move up, go and get your quarterback and Jordan Love. But I have the Browns keeping this pick, getting Tristan Wirfs here. From what I know, the Browns really like Wirfs. He'd probably be the pick at 10, if I'm being honest. Versatile lineman. He can play tackle. He can play guard. Reminds me a lot of Brandon Scherf, another Iowa Hawkeye who was drafted in the top 5 as a tackle, has moved to guard, and has been a really productive player in the NFL. So I think this is a good pick here for Cleveland. Not only getting some mid-round picks, but still getting your guy who would have been the pick at 10. Pick 16, the Cardinals. They need offensive tackles. Could have stayed at 8 and gotten one, but because all the tackles are gone, they're going to pick K'Lavon Chaisson, the edge rusher, out of LSU. And the good thing about this pick is now that the Cardinals have an extra second, they can look at offensive tackles. Guys like maybe Lucas Niang, Matthew Peart, Prince Tegawanago, all good options who I think could be in their range. Isaiah Wilson as well. So I think that's what the Cardinals would probably do with that second pick. Maybe move up into the late first round, try to get your guy that you want. But with their lack of draft capital outside of that second round pick, I'd be a little bit surprised. But I do have the pick being Chason, speedy edge rusher, a lot of bend and explosiveness coming off the edge. Reminds me a lot of Brian Burns coming out of last year's class, a guy who's not phenomenal against the run, doesn't have his hand in the dirt, but is a speedy, modern NFL pass rusher. And if K'Lavon Chason plays the way that Brian Burns did last season, this will be a great pick for the Cardinals. The Dallas Cowboys roster right now is in a very weird spot. You know, they're a very talented group, but they're fetching a lot of money. Zeke's on a big contract. Amari Cooper, Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, Jalen Smith, they're all getting paid a ton. And oh yeah, they're about to pay a quarterback $30+ million a year in Dak Prescott. So that means they're going to have to let a lot of good players walk these next couple off seasons. And if you look at their secondary, pretty much all of their starters are free agents next season. Xavier Woods, Clinton Dix, Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis, Chidobe Awuzie. They are all free agents, and the Cowboys, maybe they'll be able to keep a couple, but they can't pay everybody there. So I think they're going to address secondary early and often. And we're going to start with A.J. Terrell, the cornerback out of Clemson. I'm very curious to see how the cornerback class plays out. Obviously, I think Okuda's going to be the top corner taken, then C.J. Henderson. But after that, there is a mix. I would pick Christian Fulton here. I also have Noah Igbenogany, who should go in this range. Jeff Gladney should go in this range. But I think this pick in this range, you'll see guys like maybe Christian Fulton, Jalen Johnson, who I don't think would be an awful reach around here. A.J. Terrell, I think this is a bit high for Terrell, but I guess it's not an awful pick. We could see some surprises. I think Damon Arnett could go higher than some expect. Maybe he sneaks into the late first round. So the cornerback class is quite meshed together. There are like 7 or 8 guys who could all go in the same range. But I think Terrell will be one of the first of that grouping to go off the board. He's a guy who really rose after the combine, not really being talked about as a late riser, but he has. And I think he's going to go in this 17 to 20 range. I think Dallas, Las Vegas, or Jacksonville could be looking at him around here. Pick 18, the Saints see Jordan Love falling, and they're not going to wait anymore. The Saints will be giving up pick 24, along with their third rounder, 88, and 169. Nice. To the Miami Dolphins for this selection. So this means the Saints have no day 2 picks this year, but they just cannot risk Jordan Love falling. The Raiders and Jaguars are 2 sneaky teams who could look at quarterback. Same with the New England Patriots. Obviously, they have a hole there. I think if Jordan Love is on the board at 23, he is the pick. So I think the Saints are not going to hesitate. They're going to move up, get their guy in Jordan Love. He can sit behind Drew Brees for a year. I think this situation is perfect for Jordan Love. Doesn't have to play, can learn from one of the best. And then I think this is it for Brees. I think this will be his last year. So he retires, and then Jordan Love steps in next year. And I think this would actually work out quite well for the New Orleans Saints. There's a team who I think could develop Jordan Love and get the most out of him. I think the New Orleans Saints could do just that. Pick 19, we know the Raiders are on the board. They could use another corner. We know Mike Mayock likes tough corners, tough players, productive players. I think the pick here would have been A.J. Terrell because Mayock is a Clemson guy. But since Terrell is gone, instead the pick is going to be Jalen Johnson out of Utah. Tough, physical corner leader. Production was phenomenal last season for Utah. And while, in my opinion, there are a few corners who are better on the board, I think Johnson fits what the Raiders want, and I think this would be a nice pick. Here at 20, the Jaguars will be moving down once again. This time it's the Baltimore Ravens who will be moving up. The Jaguars will be receiving pick 28 along with pick 60, one of Baltimore's 2 second-round picks, and obviously along with their first-rounder. So who are the Ravens moving up for? They're going to get linebacker Kenneth Murray out of Oklahoma. For a lot of people, Patrick Queen and Kenneth Murray are pretty much right next to each other on their boards. That includes myself. I think the best off-ball linebacker, not counting Isaiah Simmons, is a very interesting debate. But for most front offices, I think it will be Kenneth Murray. I think Kenneth Murray is going to go higher than people expect. I think Patrick Queen's going to go lower than people expect. And I think the Ravens are going to want their guy in Kenneth Murray. They're not going to risk it. They already have an extra second-round pick, so why not go up and get him? Murray's another very productive player. He's a leader. This is the type of Baltimore Raven that they want at middle linebacker. We've seen the Ravens build around middle linebackers. Ray Lewis, obviously. C.J. Mosley for the few seasons he was in Baltimore. So we know they like to have talent and leadership at this position. Kenneth Murray brings both of those to Baltimore. Pick 21, the Niners got this pick from the Eagles. They're going to go Javon Kinlaw, interior defensive lineman out of South Carolina. A lot of Niner fans don't like Javon Kinlaw at 13. I don't get that personally. I think Javon Kinlaw would be a fine pick at 13. Now they get him at 21. I'm very curious to see what Niner fans think of this. I think if the draft plays out like this would be phenomenal for San Francisco. I think he'd be a good pick at 13, let alone 21. But why do I have Javon Kinlaw slipping? There are some new medical question marks that have come out about Kinlaw, and I think because of that, not to mention with Derek Brown slipping a little bit, I think Brown will be the first interior defensive lineman off the board. So since he slips, that makes Kinlaw slip a little bit. And then with the medical stuff, I think Kinlaw falls right here to San Francisco. Personally, I'm not as concerned about the medical as others are. And I think most people aren't even that worried about it to begin with. But I think Javon Kinlaw is a perfect addition to this defense. What the Niners had in DeForest Buckner was a guy who can get after the quarterback in the middle of that defensive line. Well, that's what Javon Kinlaw brings. He has a higher ceiling than Derek Brown. He does have a lower floor, and he obviously has some medical question marks. But I think he's the perfect DeForest Buckner replacement. I know the Niners fans want to do something sexy. Justin Jefferson staring them right in the face here. But I think Kinlaw makes more sense. You plug him in the interior defensive line. Solomon Thomas is not good. DJ Jones is not good. So I think Javon Kinlaw will be good. And this will be a great pick for San Francisco. Pick 22, the Vikings have a hole at receiver. Stephon Diggs was traded. They're going to pick up Justin Jefferson out of LSU. I could see him going at like 15 to the Broncos. There are a number of teams who could look at him. I wouldn't even be surprised if Tampa Bay surprises up. If they stay at 14 and the tackles are gone, they could look at a guy like Justin Jefferson. I've had Justin Jefferson mocked to the Eagles for the past month. But now that they're moving up, they're out of the question. San Francisco here at 21 would have made sense. If the Raiders don't pick a wide receiver at 12, which I'd be very surprised about, he makes sense there. So there are a bunch of different landing spots for Justin Jefferson. This is the latest I could see him going. The Vikings need a receiver. Jefferson was very productive. You can have him on the inside at the slot spot. You can have him on the outside. So I think this could be a very nice pick for Minnesota. Pick 23, New England does not have any good QBs on the board. They're going to go with Yetur Gross-Matos, the edge rusher out of Penn State. I think Bill Belichick's going to try to look for some more pass rushing help. I think there are better fits on the board. I think Zach Bond could be considered out of Wisconsin. But I don't know. I can just envision Yetur Gross-Matos in a Patriots jersey. I don't know why. It just makes sense in my head for whatever reason. And then pick 24, the Dolphins just got this pick in the trade down with New Orleans. They're going to go Austin Jackson, offensive tackle, USC. A common theme here is teams trading down in this video and getting the guy that they would have gotten with their original pick. Lions with Jeff Okudah, Jaguars with Derek Brown, Browns with Tristan Wirfs. Heck, even the Niners, Javon Kinlaw. He could have been the pick at 13, and Austin Jackson is another example of that. He would have been the pick at 18. Now he's the pick here at 24. I'm not super high on Austin Jackson. I had a third-round grade on him. He's very raw. He has a lot of upside, but he's quite raw, and I think this pick doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the Dolphins if you're looking for a day one starter, but he does have upside to be one of the better tackles in this class, so I suppose it's not an awful pick. Now on to the final 8 picks of the video, starting with the Minnesota Vikings at 25. They're going to go with Josh Jones, the offensive tackle out of Houston. Jones is another offensive lineman who I'm not that high on. I have an early third-round grade on him as well. I think he's really raw, and I think he's one of the more overrated players in this year's class. Now, he does have upside. He performed well at the Senior Bowl. He graded well for Pro Football Focus, but I don't think he's as good as people really think he is. I think he has a chance to be a solid tackle in the NFL, but I just don't think he's as good of a prospect as people have made him out to be. Dolphins at 26, going to go with one of my favorite players in the class, Antoine Winfield Jr., the safety out of Minnesota. They could look at Xavier McKinney with this pick, another safety, best pure safety in the class. But Antoine Winfield provides a ton of versatility. He flies all over the field, makes so many plays. You can have him at safety, you can have him at slot corner. I think he does so many different things for a defense, and I think that the Dolphins and Brian Flores will have a field day with Mr. Winfield. Here at pick 27, this selection belongs to the Seattle Seahawks, and there are only a few things certain in life: death, taxes, and the Seahawks doing one of the following with their first-round pick: either trading back, drafting a third-round projected player, or drafting a running back, and to be specific, generally a running back who's supposed to go in the third round. The Seahawks will be doing one of those things, and for the sanity of Seahawk fans, it will not be drafting a third-round projected player, so not another LJ Collier, and it will not be reaching for a running back, so not another Rashad Penny. The Seahawks will be trading down to the Detroit Lions, so the Lions will be moving up. Seattle will be receiving pick 35, the Lions' original second-round pick, not the one from the Dolphins. Pick 85, the third-round pick in part of the Darius Slay trade. And then the 235th pick, the Lions' seventh-rounder, which I want to say is from New England, in the Deron Harmon trade, I'm pretty sure. So who are the Lions moving up for? It's A.J. Epinesa, the edge rusher out of Iowa. Perfect fit for Matt Patricia's defense. He can get after the quarterback. He can stop the run. As a Lions fan, I probably would not make this move. I don't like giving up the third rounder to move up 8 spots. But I don't see Epinesa being there at pick 35. So if the Lions really want him, go out and get him. I'd prefer to just wait, get a guy like Zach Bond or Josh Uche, another player who also really fits the defense. But I'm not going to say I hate this move, and I think Epinesa would be a nice addition to the defense. Here at pick 28, the Jacksonville Jaguars got this pick from Baltimore. They drafted a high-floor player from Auburn with their first pick. Now they're going to get a high-ceiling player out of Auburn, and that's cornerback Noah Igbenogany, one of my favorite players in this year's class. For a guy who's new to the cornerback position, he is excellent in coverage, needs to work on his ball skills, but as a former wide receiver, there are some natural ball skills there. Igbenogany is also a great athlete. I've had him going in the first round since the Combine. A lot of people disagreed with me. Now there's traction. He could go in the first round. And if he does end up being a first-round selection, just know it came from me. Pick 29, Christian Fulton, cornerback LSU to the Titans. I think Fulton either goes in the teens or he slips a little bit. According to my board, I think he should go in the teens. I think he's a really, really good player. But I think there's a chance he does slip and is not the third corner off the board like he probably should be. The Titans have a few interesting holes. They could use some help on the front seven, maybe another offensive tackle, but I think they could use another corner as well. Logan Ryan is gone. All they really got there is Adoree Jackson, who is going to be a free agent soon. Not a whole lot of talent behind him. Malcolm Butler is meh. Not much other than that. So I think corner is a sneaky need for the Titans, and the value is definitely here with Christian Fulton. So I think this will be a phenomenal selection for the Titans. Pick 30. I know Packer fans don't love this. I've had this pairing in my past 3 mocks. And that's Marlon Davidson, the interior defensive lineman out of Auburn. I think it goes higher than most expect. And I think it's the Packers who are going to look for a guy who's versatile, can play the pass, can play the run. I think Marlon Davidson brings you just that. They could look at wide receiver. That's obviously a massive need. Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Reagor. Maybe they reach down the board a little bit. Maybe they get a guy like Laviska Shenault or T. Higgins. They could also use linebacker, and Patrick Queen is available. However, I think the Packers know what they're doing. I don't think they're going to go for wide receiver or linebacker round 1. I think they're going to go for a more traditional route in Marlon Davidson, whether that's the right pick or not. Pick 31, Jalen Reagor, wide receiver TCU to the 49ers. I originally had Jeff Gladney being this pick, but the more I thought about it, Jalen Reagor makes so much sense for this offense. In my What I Would Do mock, uploaded a couple days ago, Reagor was the pick here, and we saw what Tyreek Hill did to the 49ers in the Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan wants that speedy receiver, that vertical threat, and that's what Jalen Reagor is. He ran a 4.48 at the Combine. He's obviously faster than that. He ran a 4.28 at his self-timed pro day. I think he might be gassing himself up a little bit, but a 4.28 is a better representation of his speed than a 4.48. So I think right in this range is where Jalen Reagor should go, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up being a first-rounder. Then pick 32, we've got to trade. The defending champion, Kansas City Chiefs, will be trading this selection to the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are moving up 6 spots from pick 38. They will also be giving up pick 113 and a future 6th round selection. The Panthers are moving up for cornerback Jeff Gladney out of TCU. Ever since January, there's been one common thing in my mocks, and that's Jeff Gladney going in the first round. That has not changed since the start of this pre-draft process, and it will not change here at the end. Gladney's a little bit older of a prospect. He's already 23, but he's a very talented physical corner who I think can be a really good addition to Carolina's defense. He's not going to be on the board here at pick 38, so why not go ahead and move up to him? The Panthers did not have to trade too much. Now the Chiefs can stand pat at 38. There's still going to be good corners on the board. Trayvon Diggs, Bryce Hall, players like that are still options for Kansas City. They could look at running back. They could try to fix up the interior of the offensive line. Maybe Cesar Ruiz falls to pick 38. So that is how my first round mock will end. I hope you guys enjoyed. There are some good players being left out of the first round. Xavier McKinney, Patrick Queen. I think Queen would probably be the pick at 33 to the Bengals. Obviously, Cesar Ruiz. There are some talented players who are going to go early day 2. And I'm curious to see how this draft ends up. And I obviously, a lot of these picks, a lot of these trades are going to be very wrong. But I think tonight is going to be very chaotic and very exciting. So I can't wait for the draft as an NFL fan. As a Lions fan, I'm terrified. But as a football fan, I am stoked. So that'll end the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you all for the love during the pre-draft process. It's really grown my channel a lot, so I appreciate it. Have a good one. Peace out.